Hi, Shane here. You're watching Sam for God, and this is Mark. Check her out.
So hi guys, how are you doing? I haven't done a West End review on this channel for a while. It's not because I haven't seen any recently, it's just because I've been quite busy lately and I've been trying to catch up with all my Broadway reviews from like a month ago. But now that they're all done, I can finally start doing some actual proper West End ones. So that's exciting. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago I went to the Noel Theatre in London to see a Shakespeare play called A Midsummer Night's Dream. Obviously you must have heard of it because it's Shakespeare and it's famous, and this is the production that I saw. It's the production with Sheridan Smith and David Williams. Now obviously they're very famous people, especially if you live in the UK, you must have heard of them. David Williams is a famous comedian and Sheridan Smith is a famous kind of TV actress. She's been on TV, loads of TV shows before. She's done some theatre as well, but she's mostly famous for like some of the TV shows that she's been in. Anyway, so first a couple of background information about the show. I really like this play. I'm not a massive Shakespeare fan, but I've always preferred his comedies to his tragedies. And we had to study this in English when I was about 16. And I remember I actually really enjoyed this. It was one of the few Shakespeare plays I actually really enjoyed. I think it may actually be my favourite ever Shakespeare play. I think it's just so funny, the play itself when you read it. It's such a joyous play, it's really random and fun, and I really liked it from what I remember. So I was very excited to see this, but I wasn't actually originally going to see it because, not because I'm not interested in the play or anything, but I don't know, I think I just wasn't really interested in seeing this production. I remember actually a few months ago, someone I know asked me if I wanted a ticket for it because she couldn't go and she was like, she was selling her tickets. And I said no because I guess I couldn't really afford it at the time, and also, like I said, I wasn't too bothered about seeing this particular production. But then I found out that one of my favourite performers, Catherine Kingsley, was going into it, and that sold it to me. I was like, I need to go and see it now. Right, so any Shakespeare production that's got big names in it, like Sheridan Smith and David Williams, you automatically know what to expect from it to an extent. You know you can't expect too much from it, because it's not going to be like a proper, full-on Shakespeare production that you see at the Globe. You have to be able to recognise that just by the cast. And some people are completely against these productions. They're like, oh, Shakespeare's meant to be like done very seriously all the time, it shouldn't be done, you know, a bit more light-heartedly, but I'm completely fine with it. Obviously you've got the Globe and you can go and see shows at the Globe if you want to see like it, you know, Shakespeare plays done properly. But I see no problem in sometimes making Shakespeare a bit more relatable, I guess, to the general public, and that's usually only done when they cast big names in it, because that makes people actually want to go and see it and give it a chance. So I'm fine with it, I don't mind it whatsoever. I think it's actually a good way of introducing Shakespeare to a younger audience, and there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously that means that, you know, like I said, when you go and see a show like this, you shouldn't expect something incredible. Like, you shouldn't expect like the best Shakespeare production you've ever seen, because you know it's not going to be like that. It's obvious by the cast of it, and you should know that, and you shouldn't go in there with high expectations. You should go watch it and think of it as like a fun little interpretation of a Shakespeare play that is just enjoyable for the general public, and, you know, not take it too seriously. So I went in the theatre not expecting too much from the show, and just wanting to have a good evening, I guess. And that's what I got. Essentially, I thought it was a enjoyable show, and I enjoyed it. I quite liked it. Anyway, I'm going to start with the plot, although, to be honest, it's very difficult to explain the plot. This is one of Shakespeare's most random plays. The things that happen in the story are just so random and sometimes a bit absurd, but that's actually what makes it enjoyable for me. That's why I like it, because it just shows how imaginative Shakespeare was when he wrote this. Basically, it's about, like, it's to do with love, like a love story and like a triangle, a love square and stuff like that. It's, like I said, it's very difficult to explain, but basically there's a big wedding about to happen, and the people of that town get ordered to arrange like some good entertainment for the weeks upcoming to the wedding, and so they need to come up with different ways to entertain the wedding guests at the wedding, or I think before the wedding or something like that. The Duke of Athens, basically called Theseus, I think. He's preparing to get married to Hippolyta, I think that's how you call her. And Hippolyta was played by Sheridan Smith, who you can see on the cover as well. But funnily enough, Sheridan's part isn't actually that big in the show. I mean, she is on stage quite a lot, but the play has so many random characters in it that her character is not like the most memorable one, I guess. Overall, I thought Sheridan was good. I've seen Sheridan before in other shows, and I've always liked her performances. This wasn't the best character I've seen her play, but she gave a great performance. She was pretty funny, and I don't know, I like Sheridan. I think she's a great actress, and I enjoyed her performance. Even though I didn't think she was the highlight of the show, I still loved seeing her perform. She's great. But I think the main kind of action that goes on in the show is between the four lovers, the four kind of, you can't even call it a triangle, can you? It's like a quadrette kind of thing? I don't know. But there's two guys and there's two girls, and there's this like whole love thing going on between them. It's a bit confusing, it's a bit crazy, but it's what makes the show for me. Now these four lovers are Lysander, played by Sam Swainsbury, Hermia, played by Susanna Fielding, Demetrius, played by Stefano Braschi, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Helena, who was played by Catherine Kingsley, my favourite actress in the show. Now, all the scenes with these 4 people in them were brilliant. They were so much fun to watch. I think part of it has to do with, you know, how the play is written anyway. Like, the comedy itself is just there and they had to just perform it. But a big part of it also had to do with themselves. They were all brilliant actors, the 4 of them. Some of the things going on when they were together was just hilarious. The relationship between them is quite complicated, but Hermia's dad wants her to marry Demetrius, and Demetrius actually likes her, but Hermia doesn't like him. Hermia actually likes the other guy, Lysander. And then there's Helena, who's just desperate for love. She thinks that nobody likes her, and she used to be in a relationship with Demetrius, I think, before, but obviously Demetrius likes Hermia now. And so Helena's like, oh my god, nobody loves me, I need to find a guy, oh my god, I'm so unloved, like nobody likes me, everybody feels sorry for me, I'm just a disappointment, And Catherine played her brilliantly. She was hilarious. She was so funny. I really can't say enough great things about her. Because it's a great character in itself. Helena's an amazing character. And Catherine did the best she could with it, and honestly, every single scene that she was in was absolutely hilarious, and the whole audience was laughing. It wasn't just me, every single person in that theatre was just like literally laughing out loud whenever she was on stage. I think Catherine's acting in general is incredible. I mean, the way she uses her voice really emphasises some of the comic moments in the show. And then her physical comedy as well, like the way she uses her arms and the way she just runs about on stage and follows like Demetrius, and it's just so funny. I can't explain it to you until you just go and see it yourself. And that's what I'm actually going to say. The whole show, even though I did enjoy the show as a show itself, what actually made the show for me, and I think for pretty much most of the audience, was Catherine Kingsley's performance. So definitely going to see the show just for her, because oh my god, she just delivers an incredible performance all throughout the show, and she is brilliant. The only other person I'm going to talk about, because I don't want this review to be too long, is David Walliams. Now, David plays a character called Bottom. I've never really liked the character Bottom anyway. I don't think it's that interesting of a character. It's quite an annoying character actually, but I disliked the character even more when I saw David play it. Now, this isn't anything against David, because I actually quite like David. I've seen him on TV shows and stuff, and I've always found him quite funny actually. I can't say I'm a massive fan of his work as a comedian, because I've never really watched him do any like stand-up comedy, but when he's been like guests on different TV programs, I've always enjoyed watching him, like on Britain's Got Talent when he was a judge last year, and just other shows. I've always thought he's quite a funny man. But in this show, he didn't make me laugh whatsoever. I think I might have maybe smiled like once or twice when he was on stage. He just wasn't funny, in my opinion, at all. I mean, he tried. I'm not going to say he didn't try. And some of the audience found him funny. I could hear people laughing. Not everybody. It wasn't like a massive laughter, but quite a few people in the audience were laughing when he was on stage. So maybe it's just me. Or maybe they were very dedicated David Walliams fans. But I just didn't like him that much as Bottom. I was a bit disappointed. I thought he was just not what I expected him to be. I thought he could have been better. My problem with him is that I think he just played himself. Like, he just was David Walliams on stage. He wasn't playing the character of Bottom. He was just playing a version of himself, and I don't know. A lot of people did like him, so I'm not going to say anything bad about him. And I still like David Walliams as a person and as a comedian. I just didn't like him in this show. I mean, there's a scene towards the end of the show where some of the characters in the show, including David Walliams' character Bottom, are putting on this show for the wedding of the 4 lovers. It's like this whole section where the play's going on, and pretty much everybody was laughing and finding it hilarious, but me and my 2 friends who were there were just confused. We were like looking at each other like, why is this funny? It just wasn't funny to us at all. So again, it just could be us. It just could have been me. I don't want to say anything bad about him or, you know, his performance, because like I always say in my videos, theatre is completely subjective, and these are just my thoughts on the show and on performances. They don't really mean anything. It's just one person's opinion. Talking about David, actually, he was really lovely, because we met him after the show, and that's why he signed my programme, and he was really nice. So yeah, I feel pretty bad for saying that I didn't enjoy his performance, but again, like I said, it's just my opinion. Anyway, the show itself was good. I thought it was an okay production. I was very excited to see it because, like I said, it was my favourite Shakespeare play, but it just didn't really live up to my expectations, even though I had pretty low expectations. I mean, I wasn't bored at any part in the show, because the show was very short. It's like, what, 2 hours or something? I mean, think about it, a Shakespeare play that's only 2 hours long. They obviously had to cut a lot of the lines in the show to make it possible for it to only be 2 hours. And it worked. It made it possible for people who probably aren't massive Shakespeare fans to actually enjoy it. And that's fine, I don't mind it. But because it was short, it meant that it did sometimes feel a bit random and a bit too crazy for people who weren't familiar with the play. Obviously I knew it, I knew the play, I'd read it before, so I was fine with it. I knew that it was meant to be quite crazy and a bit random. But one of my friends was a bit confused by the whole thing, because, you know, 2 hours isn't long enough for people to execute a Shakespeare play properly to an audience. But it was still fine, you know, you could still understand the story. Like I said, it's quite a random plot anyway, so it's meant to feel a bit confusing for anyone. I thought the sets were good, nothing special, but I mean, they were good. There's a bit of music going on at some parts. Obviously, this is a very modern version of this Shakespeare play. They've modernised it a lot, and that's fine again, you know, it's just a different way of showing a Shakespeare play to the audience, so I'm completely fine with it. But at times it did feel a bit just too out of place. Some of the music that they were using and some of the costumes I thought were just a bit too ambitious maybe. The characters in the play spend a significant amount of time in the woods, and they meet some crazy characters in there, like some fairies and stuff. And the way they'd done it in this play was they just made it all look like they were hippies of some sort, and I'm not sure I liked that, to be honest. I didn't hate it, but I don't think it was the best way of doing it either. I don't really know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't go and see it again if it wasn't for Catherine Kingsley, but I am actually going to go and see it again because of her in a couple of weeks. And that's the thing, if you want to see an incredible performance and just laugh a lot, go and see this just because of Catherine Kingsley's performance as Helena alone. Also, if you happen to be a big fan of Sheridan Smith or David Walliams, then of course go and see it because you're going to like it no matter what. I mean, if you like them anyway, then you're going to enjoy it, and you know, they are pretty good in the show. But these are the only two reasons I can think of you to go and see it. If you want to see the play just because you've always been interested in the play and you like Shakespeare, then I don't think it's the best production for you to go and see. But if you just want like a good evening out, seeing a pretty enjoyable average show with amazing performances by some of the cast like Catherine Kingsley, then go, by all means. I really think you should go. I want as many people as possible to see Catherine's performance in the show because she is absolutely brilliant. And I know a lot of you are going to think I'm just being biased because I love her as a performer, but honestly, she really is the highlight of the show. She stole the show from me and many other people. Just go and read some reviews, everybody else is saying the same thing. But like I said, I did enjoy it, and this is the programme for it, like I'm going to show it to you again just for the lols. It was fun, and I am going again just because I want to see Catherine play Helena again. And you should too. Like I said, if you like any of these performers, go and see it, but bear in mind they're not in it that much. The whole cast is pretty good, and you know, if you've always wanted to see a Shakespeare play and you're interested in one of these like famous names, then give it a go. Why not? You might enjoy it. It's funny, it's short, and it's got two big famous names in it, so why not go and see it? You know, there's nothing stopping you. I personally wouldn't rate the show that high as a show, but it's got some good performances in it, so that does make it worth seeing it because of the performances. And yeah, this play, Midsummer Night's Dream, is only on at the Noel Theatre until the 16th of November, so a month from now. I'm sure there's still tickets available, so if you do want to go, you should be able to find tickets online or from the theatre directly. And yeah, this was my review of it. As always, I want to mention that everything I said in the video is just how I felt about the show. They're just my thoughts. So other people might have completely different opinions, and that's completely fine. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!